Whether you are new to Obsidian or you have already used Obsidian and would like to learn more about how to use it for personal knowledge management, this video is for you. Today, we will go through what Obsidian is all about and whether it is right for you. You will also learn how to use Obsidian to sharpen your thinking, manage your knowledge, and become a more effective person using my productive thinking system. If you are already familiar with Obsidian, you can use the timestamps below to skip ahead, but if you are ready, let's get right to it. So what is Obsidian? While a lot of people see Obsidian as a note-taking app, I don't think that is what Obsidian is all about. Obsidian is an app designed to help you think better by providing you a private space to preserve your knowledge, generate insights, and link ideas together. If all you want to do is recording notes into a digital workspace, there are many other apps that are better than Obsidian, such as Apple Note, Microsoft OneNote, Google Keep, or even a sticky note app. But if what you want to do is to preserve your knowledge and reflection and then develop ideas and insight based on those information, I think Obsidian is probably the best app in the market today. While there are many great things about Obsidian, I also don't think Obsidian is for everyone. So let's see pros and cons and decide whether Obsidian is right for you. There are 4 apps when it comes to great things about Obsidian. First, it is free for personal use. Second, it is super fast to interact with. It works at the speed of your thinking. Third, it is flexible. You can make Obsidian look the way you want, work the way you want, thanks to thousands of themes and plugins that are available to you. And finally, your notes are for you forever. Unlike most apps, Obsidian stores your files on your local devices, so no matter what happens to Obsidian as a company tomorrow, all your notes are still yours to keep. Now let's take a look at a couple of downsides of using Obsidian. First is syncing. To sync your notes across devices, it takes more setup than most apps in the market. But you can also check out my video as well as other links in the description. Second is backing up. Because all your notes are stored on your local devices, you are also responsible for backing up the data. And lastly, since Obsidian works quite differently than other standard note-taking apps, it might take you some time to learn how to use it. But hopefully this video would help you in this regard. We have gone through both pros and cons, so now you can decide whether Obsidian is right for you. If you are still interested in using Obsidian, let's see how to set it up and start using it. To start using Obsidian, you need to get an app. And in order to get the app, you can go to the obsidian.md website, or you can go to the app stores and then search for Obsidian. It is available on all major platforms. Once you downloaded the app, you would be greeted with this screen. And basically, it is asking you where you want to create your vault. And a vault is simply a folder that stores your notes. So you have to select where you want to store your notes. So for example, if I create a vault, name new vault, then I can choose the location. You can see that because I chose desktop as the location, a new vault or a new folder is created on my desktop. And if I create a new file or a new note, if I open a folder, you can see that there is a new file created in this folder. Now we will learn how to create notes, link them together, see the connections, and also how to set up Obsidian to work and look exactly the way you want it. To create a note, there are 3 options. You can use a button, or you can use Command N or Control N depending on whether you are using a Mac or a PC. And the last way, which is my most favorite way, is to do double bracket, then type the name of the note, and then hit Option Enter, which will take you into the note. Okay, now you learn how to create notes. Let's link them together. If you want to link a note to another note, you can type double bracket and then select the name of the note or type the name of the note. Once you have finished typing, you can click on the name of the note and then it will take you to that note. Fun fact, if you don't want to link notes together, but you want to link a note to an external URL, what you can do is do bracket, the label, then parentheses, then just type in the URL. Then this will take you to the URL that you want. Linking notes is the most important feature in Obsidian, so I would like to take some time to explain this. There are 2 types of links. First is an outgoing link. This link is an outgoing link from the node A to node B. Second type of link is backlink. Because node A links to node B, Node B has a backlink of Node A, meaning that Node A mentions Node B. To see the connections of the nodes, there are three ways. First is within the document itself. So for example, in this case, Node B has an outgoing link of Node C, as we can see here. But how can we see the backlinks within the document? You have to show backlink in the document, which you can type Command P, then type backlinks, toggle backlinks in document, and you will see that Node B has a backlink of Node A, means that Node A mentions Node B. The second way to see the connection is using the right pane. So you can click on the right pane and you can see that Node A is a backlink of Node B. And if we click here, we can also see that Node C is an outgoing link of Node B. And the third way, which is my most favorite way, is using the graph view. In order to trigger the graph view, you can use shortcut, which I'll teach you later. But you can also do Command or Control P, then type graph. There are two types of graphs, global graph and local graph. So if we open the local graph view, we can see that Node B and Node C and Node A are all connected. If we want to see the direction, we can click on display, then arrow. And now we can see that Node B links out to Node C and Node A links into Node B, which makes Node A a backlink of Node B. Besides the local graph view, if we do the global graph view, Command or Control G, we can see all the connections within the vault. Okay, now we know how to create nodes, link them together, see the connections, then let's organize them. To keep things organized, you can use folders, which you can click here and then create a new folder. And then you can drag the nodes into that folder. Another way to keep nodes organized is using tagging. When you use tags, it is beneficial in many situations. For example, if you open a graph view and then you want to highlight the tags differently, you can do group, then tag, and you can see the node with this tag would be colored differently. Okay, now we have covered most of the key things you need to know in order to use Obsidian. Let's now make Obsidian look and work exactly the way you want it. You have to go to settings, and there are a couple of things that you need to know. You can check out the link in the description to learn more, but I would like to point out a couple of key things. First is hotkeys or shortcuts. The most effective way to use Obsidian is to use shortcuts because you want to focus on thinking and you don't want anything to be the barrier between your thoughts and the output. So using shortcuts is very helpful in this regard. In order to program a shortcut, you can search for the function you want. For example, navigating back, and you can see some functions has already had shortcuts associated with it. You can delete it and then record a new one. Or like this one, toggle backlinks in document, which we have to type Command P, and that takes some time. So if you would like to make it a shortcut, you can too. And as you can see now, I can use the shortcut to toggle back and forth the display of the backlinks in the document. Besides shortcuts, the way that you can customize Obsidian is using core plugins and also community plugins. Core plugins are the one that already built into Obsidian, so you can simply turn on and off. But the fun begins with the community plugins. So there are thousands of plugins that are really amazing, free to use for you. You just have to turn on community plugins. Then you can browse whatever you want. There are so many of them, and I think you would find one that fits your needs. We have gone through things that make Obsidian work the way you want, but let's make it look the way you like as well. So the way to do it is going to the appearance, and you can install different themes. Go to Themes, Manage. Then you can browse the theme that you like. For example, I like this one, so I can click Install and Use. And as you can see, it already looks a little bit different than before. Besides the themes, you can basically customize almost every single thing about how the Obsidian should look. So you can adjust the font size, You can change the font. You can basically play around with this. These are pretty intuitive. You can try things out and see what you can adjust. And that's pretty much all you need to know to start using Obsidian. Now you know how to use Obsidian. Let's see how to set it up for your personal knowledge management using my productive thinking system. If you are new to the productive thinking system, please check out the video first. Okay, so let's start setting up the vault for the productive thinking system. So first, let's look at the plugins. There are two plugins that you need. First is Daily Note plugins, which should already be turned on. You just have to click on Options and then toggle on Open Daily Note on Startup. What that's gonna do is that the next time you open Obsidian, it will automatically create a daily note for you. Another plugin that you need is the template plugin. You have to set up where to store your templates. So first, let's create a folder and call it templates. Then go back to the settings, search for the template plugin, click on the gear icon. Then you can choose the location of the templates. Besides setting up plugins, I would also recommend that you set up the shortcuts that you're going to be using a lot. So that includes going back and forward, inserting templates, and toggle left and right pane. So let's set it up one by one. Navigating back, you just type back, and basically that's the one that we have just set up. Normally, I do Command or Control left bracket. Similar thing with the forward, I would normally reprogram it to be Command or Control right bracket. So let's say that we have two notes, and then because we have programmed the shortcut, we can just use the shortcut to quickly navigate between the pages. Next is toggle left and right pane. You can program whatever you want. For me, I will do Option left. Similar thing with the right pane, I'll do Option right. Because we have programmed the shortcut, I can use the shortcut to quickly open left and right pane. The last one is setting up templates. So as always, you can program whatever you want. I'll do Option T. Because we have programmed the shortcuts, now you officially become the Obsidian Ninja. To keep things organized, I create folders, but my folders are extremely simple. I normally have one folder for settings, and in that folder, I normally have templates and also another one for attachments, which I will show you in a minute how to use it. So that is one folder for the things that are not related to the content of our vault. So let's set up the attachment and templates. So go to Settings, File and Links, Default Location for New Attachment. Then select this option and then choose Attachment folder. Similar to templates, you go to Core Plugins, search for Templates, select Options, then select the folder. So now whenever you have new attachment, let's say I put in this image here, you can see that it automatically stored in this folder. Another folder is called a slip box. This is inspired by the Zettelkasten method. You can check out my video regarding this topic. So basically, all my notes are stored in the slip box. Anything that is not floating around are in the slip box, and that means that those notes are already processed. Besides the folders that keep things organized, I also use tagging to classify different notes. To create notes in the productive thinking system, I always use templates. So let's set up some templates. In order to create templates, you simply create new notes. You can use the link in the description in order to download these templates. Once you create the templates, you have to move it into the templates folder. Now, once we have the templates, if we want to create a new note using the templates, all we have to do is using the shortcut that we have programmed before, then select the templates that you want, and it will automatically generate it with some contents. Because I want the daily note to use this template, we have to go to Settings, Core Plugins, Daily Notes, and then tell Obsidian to use this one as the template. So let's say that we delete this, close it out, and open the vault again. You can see that it automatically creates a new note with this template. And you can enter other information like daily gratitude or like daily goals. Anything that you want to pre-propagate it into the daily note, you can put in the daily note template. The last part of how I set up the productive thinking system is using the emoji to classify different types of notes. So I use this one to classify a hub note, and this icon for a reference note, this icon for a project note. A project note is anything that is my creative output. But for a permanent note, I would not put any emoji in front of it at all. And the reason why I do this is because when I put the emoji in front of the note's name, let's say that I see it as a link or a backlink, I can know immediately that this is a project note and it's linked to this reference note. So without the icon, it would be really hard for me to see what type of note this is. If you don't like the emoji, what you can do is using a letter as well. For example, you can use H for hub notes, R for a reference note, and P for a project note. And a permanent note doesn't need to have any letters in front of it. And we have gone through everything you need to know to set up your vault for the productive thinking system. This is exactly how I do it these days. I have a little bit more nuance and complexities, but this is pretty much the core of my system. Now let's see how to use this system in order to develop your personal knowledge management vault. Before we begin looking at the process of building your second brain or your knowledge vault, let's take a quick look at the productive thinking method. If you haven't watched the video, I highly recommend that you watch it before you follow the tutorial. So in the productive thinking system, there are 4 notes: daily notes for capturing daily experiences, reference notes for capturing the information that you consume, permanent notes for capturing the distilled insights from the daily notes and the reference notes, and last but not least is the hub note that is a place for summarizing the information from the permanent note. Similar to the Zettelkasten system, these 2 notes are a part of the reference system, and these 2 notes are the core part of your knowledge vault. The process is very simple. Any raw information, raw experiences that comes to your mind, you capture them on daily notes, and any packaged information or packaged content, you capture them on the reference notes. And you will see in the examples that these 2 notes do relate. Once you capture the raw information, you want to distill it into the permanent notes so that the information is ready for you to use to mix and match into the hub note. So that's the core concept. And once you have this amazing knowledge vault, you can use it for your daily actions. Now that we take a quick recap, let's take a look at Obsidian. The starting point of using the productive thinking system with Obsidian is at the daily notes. I use daily notes to capture 3 things: random information that you run into each day, reference notes, and permanent notes. So I'll go through each one. Random information is essentially anything that you want to capture somewhere, and you use daily notes as your scratch pad for your daily life. One thing you want to know is that in Obsidian, if you want to do heading, you can use £sign in order to write down different types of headings. For example, £1 would be like big heading, and then double £sign would be smaller heading, and 3 signs would be even smaller heading. So let's say I want to capture some random information. I can create a section for that, and then I can write down phone numbers or any information that I don't want to forget, and I want to put it somewhere. It doesn't have to be super organized. Besides the random information, you also want to capture reference notes onto the daily notes. It really depends on your workflow, but oftentimes in your daily life, you don't have a lot of time, so you can just dump raw information into the daily notes and you can turn it into the reference notes later. For example, let's say I watched this amazing YouTube video from Jordan Peterson. I can just copy and paste the link, and I can do this in the mobile phone too. But once I have time, normally at the end of each day, I would normally turn this information into a reference note. To create a note, I do double brackets, adding the reference note emoji, but for you, if you want to do R, that would work too. Then I can just type the name of the note. Once you're ready, you can hit Option Enter in order to create a note. If you want to go back to the daily note, because we have already programmed the back and forward shortcut, you can simply use the shortcut to go back to the daily note. One quick note is that if you don't do Option Enter, but instead you do Command Enter, what it's going to do is that it's going to create the note but on a different tab. Because we have already programmed a shortcut for the template, so we can do Option T, insert the template. And this is a reference note, so we can select reference. Normally for author, I would create a link for the author. For example, for this one would be Jordan Peterson. You might wonder why I format the information like this. This is because Obsidian has a feature called Data View, and you don't have to worry too much about it. But just know that by formatting the information like this, it allows you to query the notes more easily in the future. And I will explain this in the future video. For the source, we can just put the YouTube link. Additionally, this is optional, but on the desktop, you can also embed the YouTube video and just copy and paste, and you're going to get the YouTube video within the note. I'll copy all the raw information into the note. Now, if we map this to the diagram that I have explained before, we have just created the daily note and also a reference note. So these are the information that are still in a pretty much raw format. We have to distill it into a more refined information so that we can use it later. The next step is writing a permanent note. And the question that I ask myself when writing a permanent note is, what is the key information that I want to remember? I normally create a section to separate the reference notes from the permanent notes that are distilled from these information. From reviewing the video again and also my notes, I can distill the information into 2 permanent notes. So in order to create the note, I can click into it. Then we will also once again use the template by hitting Option T or whatever you program it to be. And then I will select permanent. Sometimes I'll just leave it blank inside, but oftentimes I'll write a little bit more information to expand upon this thought. Once you have a permanent note, you should connect it to other permanent notes or to a hub note. For example, I think this permanent note is related to teaching, so I'll connect it to teaching. Or you don't think this is going to be relevant to anything and you can't think of how it's going to be connected to anything because you don't have lots of notes in the beginning, you can connect it to Inbox Hub. And this will cache all the permanent notes that have no connection so you can review them later. And you can see all the notes by looking at the right pane, and it's going to show you all the notes that are not connected to any other notes. Let me show you another example. So let's say this time I read an article. So same thing here. I normally just copy and paste, then write down some really brief notes. And when I have time, I can turn this into a reference note. Copy and paste. Then I insert the template using the shortcut, then select reference. I enter the author's name and also the source link, create a separate section for the reference notes, and then a separate place for the permanent notes. So this is not a short article, but one thing that I have learned from using this kind of system for a couple of years now is that you should only keep the things that are really valuable to you. You don't have to hoard information because you're not going to have a lot of time to revisit everything. Just keep what is resonating with you, and you would have more chance to go back and review them. And as always, you should summarize a couple of permanent notes that are most relevant to you. Once we have the permanent note, we can write down some more things. So as always, Option Enter into the note, enter the template using the shortcut. We can write down some notes here. The cool thing about this system is that once you either see the backlink right here or whether you show it in the document, you will see that this permanent note is connected or generated from this reference note. And also, once you trace back this reference note, you can see that it's generated on this day from this daily note. In this case, I don't want to connect it to a hub note, but I want to connect it to another reference note. So this really reminds me of a book called The Courage to Be Disliked. So I will write down some note about that. So I'll do double bracket and then search for the name of the book. And then voila, we have the book. We can connect to the whole book or just a part of the book. So let's say I want to connect to the part that talks specifically about this concept. I remember that this book talks about that in order to be free, you should have the courage to be disliked. It really gives you the real freedom. You can do Shift 6 or the caret sign and search for the keyword that you are looking for. So this is the one that I look for. Once I found what I want, I will do tab. Then the cool thing is that if you don't like how this looks, you can type pipe, and then you can make it exactly how you want it to appear in the note. For example, I want to just refer to the book, but I don't want to show this thing. I can just type in the name of the book and then hit arrow to get out. Now you can see that the link will show up in this really pretty way instead of this really messy text. Besides generating reference notes from the daily note, you can also generate insights or anything that you have distilled from your daily experiences. For example, let's say you have a meeting or you go through your day and you have some insights. Normally, I would just simply write down the permanent notes, double bracket, and then I'll write down whatever the insight I've got for the day. Let's say that's the example of the note I have for the day. I'll click Option Enter and then enter the template, write down some notes. Now that I have accumulated a couple of notes related to this topic, I can create a hub note from my daily experiences. So for example, I can create a hub note called Being a Great Leader, and then I can simply tag this as a hub. If we now go into the hub notes and we look at the backlink, we can see that we now have 2 permanent notes related to this hub note. So in the future, what we can do is we can kind of summarize the information based on the permanent notes that we've got. If you want to learn more about hub notes, please check out the video in the description. And once you are done with your day, all you have to do is select everything and then just throw it into the slip box, and you just have a clear space to start your new day. And that's pretty much the core process of the productive thinking system using Obsidian. And that's it for today. I hope you are now confident to use Obsidian for your own personal knowledge management. If you have any feedback or questions, please leave down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.